The trade world of Zereth was hot, noisy, and full of strange smells. Giant ships came and went every hour, bringing goods, weapons, machines, and sometimes people. The slave market stood in the middle of the city. Tall gates, loudspeakers, and cages made it look like a place from a nightmare. Captain Daniel Reeve, human, walked through the market with a frown on his face. He didn't like this place. He didn't like the idea of selling people like objects. But his ship needed fuel, and Zereth was the closest station. While waiting for repairs, he decided to explore the market just to see how bad it really was. Alien traders shouted from both sides. Strong worker from Quarren 3, one called. Fast cook from Juna System, said another. But one sign caught Daniel's eye. It was old and dusty. A cage sat behind it, half hidden in shadow. The sign said, Love Slave, 40 credits. Rejected, unclaimed. Daniel almost walked past, but something made him stop. He turned and looked into the cage. Inside sat a woman. She looked alien, but not like the others around. Her skin was light blue, almost glowing. Her hair was white like moonlight. Her eyes, large and silver, met his. She didn't speak. She didn't move. But her eyes were full of pain. And something else, maybe pride. She's useless, the trader beside the cage said with a shrug. No one wants her. Doesn't follow commands. Thinks too much. You want a real love slave? By a Varelian. Daniel didn't answer. He looked back at the woman. She didn't beg. She didn't cry. She just stared at him, calm and still. What's her name? Daniel asked quietly. The trader laughed. Doesn't talk much, probably doesn't remember. She's been here for months. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out his credit chip. 40, right? He said. The trader blinked. You serious? You're buying her? Daniel nodded. Yeah. Unlock the cage. The trader shrugged again and pressed a button. The cage opened with a hiss. The woman inside stood slowly. She didn't look afraid. She looked surprised. Daniel held out a hand, but she didn't take it. She simply walked out and stood beside him. Aliens around them watched and whispered. A human buying a love slave? Wait till he finds out. She's not what he thinks. He's going to regret this. Daniel ignored them. He looked at the woman and said gently, Come on, let's get out of here. Back on his ship, the Odyssey, Daniel led her to the medbay. She didn't speak. The whole time, he gave her water and food, but she just sat silently, watching him. After a few minutes, Daniel sat across from her and sighed. Okay, first things first. You're not a slave anymore. You're free. You can leave if you want. Her head slightly, as if she didn't understand. I'm not going to hurt you, he added. I don't want anything from you. I just saw you there and I couldn't walk away. She finally spoke, her voice soft and clear. You bought me, yes, Daniel admitted, but not to keep you. To get you out of there. She looked at the food, then back at him. No one has ever said that before. What's your name? He asked. She paused. Then slowly, she said, Illyrie. Nice to meet you, Illyrie, Daniel said with a small smile. I'm Daniel. She looked. Around the ship? This is your home? Sort of. It's my ship. I travel a lot. Why did you help me? She asked. Daniel leaned back. Because it was the right thing to do. You didn't belong in that cage. For the first time, Illyrie smiled, but it was a small, unsure smile. You are strange. Daniel chuckled. I get that a lot. Later, Daniel showed her a small guest room. You can stay here as long as you want, he said. Food's in the mess hall. Don't worry about anything. She nodded. But before he left the room, she asked one more question. If I had been someone else, if I looked different, would you still have helped me? Daniel turned. Yes, he said without hesitation, because no one deserves to be treated like a thing. Illyrie stood in silence as the door closed behind him. She sat on the bed, looking at her hands. Her whole life she had been passed from one owner to another. They used her for what they wanted. None had ever asked her name. None had ever called her free, but now A human had bought her hand, told her she didn't belong to anyone. She didn't know how to feel, but for the first time in years, she felt safe. The next morning, Daniel woke up early. He sat in the small kitchen of his ship, drinking hot coffee and reading system updates. Outside the window, stars floated like diamonds in space. The Odyssey was set to leave Zaritha 9 soon, he planned. To jump to a calmer region away from busy trade routes and trouble. Suddenly, he heard soft footsteps. He looked up and saw Ilari standing at the doorway. She was wearing clean clothes. One of the spare flight suits he had left for her. It was too big, but she looked more comfortable now. Her hair was brushed. Her skin looked less pale. She was holding a food pack in one hand. "Good morning," Daniel said with a warm smile. Ilari nodded slowly. "Morning." She sat down across from him. For a few seconds, they didn't speak. The ship hummed softly around them. "You slept okay?" he asked. "Yes," she replied, opening the food pack. "Better than I have in a long time. It's good." He took another sip. "Of coffee? You don't have to stay, you know. Once we reach the next port, I can help you get back to your homeworld." Ilari's eyes changed. "My home is gone." Daniel blinked. "Gone? What do you mean taken?" she said quietly. "Years ago, raiders came. My people are scattered, sold." Daniel's chest tightened. "I'm sorry." She looked at him carefully. "Most buyers never asked about my past or cared." Daniel met her gaze. "I do." For the first time, she saw that he truly meant it. Later, Daniel showed her around the ship. The Odyssey was a mid-size explorer vessel, built for long missions. It had 2 cabins, a small med bay, cargo storage, and one very old kitchen. "This panel controls the ship's shields," Daniel explained. "That one's for navigation, and this one. Don't touch this one unless you want the engines too." "Shut down, Ilari," laughed a soft, light sound. Daniel grinned. "Nice to hear you laugh." She touched the screen gently. "Your technology is old, but solid. Human-made." "Yep, built on Mars. Second-hand now, but it still flies." "I could help with navigation," she said suddenly. "My people are skilled with spatial paths." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You sure? I mean, you just got here? You don't have to?" "I want to," she said firmly. Daniel smiled. "All right, co-pilot. Welcome aboard." Over the next few days, they traveled together. Ilari took quickly to the ship's controls. She was smart. She understood star charts, ship systems, and alien languages. Daniel was impressed, but more than that, he enjoyed her company. They talked during long flights. Ilari asked about Earth, about human food, music, and rain. Daniel told her stories from his time in the military. Funny ones, sad ones, strange ones. She listened with deep interest. And slowly she began to open up about her own past. "My people are called Shari," she said one evening as they shared a meal. "We live with balance. We feel each other's emotions as our gift hand, our curse." Daniel leaned forward. "You're empathic." "Yes," she nodded. "I can sense feelings, not thoughts, just the heart." "Amazing," Daniel said. "It made us easy targets," she said softly. "We trust too much. We feel too much. When war came, we couldn't fight like others." Daniel's voice was quiet. "You don't have to fight now. You're safe here." Ilari looked at him. "That's the strange part. I feel peace around you." Daniel smiled, but said nothing. Didn't need to. At the next station, they stopped for supplies. A small outpost orbiting a gas giant filled with strange aliens. And loud music as they walked through the corridors. Someone shouted, "Shari." "That's a Shari girl." A tall alien stepped in front of them, scars on his face, armor on his chest. Daniel quickly moved in front of Ilari. "What do you want?" "She's mine," the alien growled. "Bought her last year. She escaped." Daniel said coldly, "I bought her. Fair and legal. She's free now." "There's no such thing as free," the alien hissed, reaching for his weapon. Before Daniel could move, Ilari stepped forward. Her eyes glowed faintly. She stared into the alien's face. His body froze, his hands trembling. "You feel fear," she whispered. "You remember what you did. You know what you are." The alien backed away, confused and sweating. "Which?" Daniel pulled his blaster. "Back off. Now." The alien turned and fled into the crowd. Daniel looked at Ilari, shocked.
What?
"Was that?" "Empathy," she said simply. "Used carefully." Daniel gave a small laugh. "Remind me never to lie to you." "You already don't," she said. That night, as they left the station, Ilari stood at the window and looked out at the stars. Daniel joined her. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said quietly. "Today, I didn't run. I stood for myself." Daniel nodded. "You were amazing." She looked at him. "You keep surprising me." "How?" "You bought a slave, but never treated me like one. You gave me food, freedom, and trust. That is not normal in this galaxy." "Well," Daniel said, "maybe it should be." She smiled at him, this time wider, warmer. "You are not what I expected." Daniel smiled back. "Neither are you." Days turned into weeks. The Odyssey floated through space, far from the noise and trouble of busy trade zones. It visited quiet planets, old space stations, and empty stretches of starlight. On board, something unexpected was growing a friendship. Between two very different beings, Daniel Reeve, the human captain, had always preferred being alone. After leaving military service, he flew his ship without crew or companions. But now, the silence was filled with quiet conversation, soft laughter, and a calm voice that made the ship feel more alive. Ilari. Ilari, once trapped behind bars, had become more than just a guest. She had become part of the crew. She helped plot courses, adjusted shield power, and even fixed an old coolant valve. She learned fast. She smiled more. And when she sat in the co-pilot seat, she didn't feel like a passenger. She felt like she belonged. One quiet morning, Daniel was repairing the main console. Sparks flew as he worked on the old wiring. "This ship's a mess," he muttered. Held together with hope and tape, Ilari watched from behind, sipping. "Warm tea? And yet it keeps flying." Daniel smiled without looking up. "You really like this old bird, huh?" "I like what it means," she replied. He stopped and turned toward her. "What do you mean this ship is freedom? Every jump we make, every star we pass, it's a choice. My whole life others chose for me. Now I get to choose too." Daniel looked at her seriously. "You can always choose. You don't owe me anything, I know," she said with a small smile. "I still choose to stay." One day, the Odyssey landed at a peaceful green planet called Lurinus. It was known for its fresh air, healing lakes, and beautiful crystals. Daniel thought Ilari might enjoy a break from space. She agreed. They walked together under tall silver trees, the wind gentle and cool. Alien birds flew overhead, singing sweet songs. Ilari knelt beside a glowing stream. "This place reminds me of home," she said softly. Daniel sat beside her. "Tell me about it," she spoke slowly. "We lived in harmony. My people, the Shari, we didn't build tall cities or war machines. We built gardens, music, and peace. I used to fly gliders through the sky with no walls, no fear." He listened. Without interrupting, her voice held both beauty and sadness. Then she turned to him. "And you? What was Earth like?" Daniel smiled. "It's messy. Loud cities, beautiful oceans, weird food, and music, lots of it. Some people fight. Some people help. But there's still hope there. I would like to see it someday," she said. "You will," he replied. "I promise." Back on the ship, they sat in the small lounge, watching old Earth movies. Ilari found them strange but funny. She didn't understand everything, but she laughed when the humans on screen did silly things. "This one," she said, pointing to the screen. "He keeps falling." "Why is that funny?" Daniel chuckled. "Because he keeps trying, even when he fails." She nodded thoughtfully. "Humans are strange, but full of heart." He raised an eyebrow. You've met more humans before? Only traitors. Most didn't. Speak kindly. Some didn't even look at me. You are different. I try, he said. And you succeed, she replied softly. That evening, as Daniel checked the ship's route, a warning light blinked. Trouble? Ellery asked, walking over. Not yet, Daniel said. Just a patrol ahead. Could be pirates or worse slavers. Ellery's body stiffened, her hands clenched. Daniel saw the change in her. Hey, we'll avoid them. We'll take the long way, but she didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the screen. If they're slavers, she said, others may be trapped, like I was. Daniel frowned. You're thinking of going after them? I'm thinking I can't ignore it. Not anymore, Daniel sighed, rubbing his forehead. You know this could be dangerous. Yes, she said calmly. But if we do nothing, they'll keep taking more. He looked at her, the fear. In her eyes was real, but so was her strength. He nodded. All right, let's take a closer look. They approached the patrol zone carefully. Daniel slowed the ship, scanning for signs. Soon they saw a small black ship floating quietly. No beacons, no ID code. Its design matched known slave transports. Daniel narrowed his eyes. It's one of them. Ellery took a deep breath. Can send a false signal. Get them to open their cargo bay. You sure you can do that? She nodded. Let me try. Her fingers moved fast over the controls. She sent a coded message, acting like a buyer looking for special stock. Minutes passed. Then the cargo bay opened. Daniel and Ilari looked at each other. Let's do this, Daniel said. He flew the Odyssey straight into the open bay and locked the airlocks tight. Inside, they found 2 cages filled with frightened alien jung. Weak, scared, Ilari stepped forward, speaking gently. You are free now. They looked at her with wide eyes. Daniel cut the power to the slave ship, set a beacon for authorities, and then flew out with the rescued passengers. As they left the scene, alarms rang. Enemy ships would arrive soon, but the Odyssey jumped into hyperspace, safe, fast, and carrying hope. That night, Daniel sat in the pilot chair, tired but proud. Ilari stood beside him, watching the stars. You did good, he said. She shook her head. We did good. He looked at her. You risked a lot. You didn't have to. She turned to him, eyes shining. You gave me freedom. Now I give it. 2 others. Daniel smiled. You're not the same person I met in that cage, and you're not just a pilot anymore, she replied. You're something more. They looked at each other for a long moment, no words needed. Among the stars, a strange friendship had begun. It was growing stronger with every light year. The rescue changed everything. The aliens Daniel and Ilari had saved were from many different species. Some were young, some were elderly. All were scared. But after a few quiet days aboard the Odyssey, they began to smile, eat, and speak again. Daniel contacted a neutral station near the Ulan border, a place known for helping refugees. They arranged safe passage for the rescued ones. Ilari said goodbye to each one with a calm voice and kind words in their languages. Some cried. Some hugged her. All were grateful. Before they left, one alien child asked, Why did you save us? Ilari answered, Because someone saved me once too. News of the event spread fast. The patrol beacon Daniel left behind had recorded everything. The slave ship's ID, the rescue operation, the names of the victims. But most surprising to the galaxy was who did it, a human captain and a former slave working side by side. Soon, the Galactic Network picked up the story. Articles appeared with titles like Human Freeze, Alien Slaves, a new kind of hero ex-slave turns rescuer, meet. Ilari of the Shari old laws under fire. Are galactic slave markets ending? At first, some officials ignored the reports, others mocked them, but people were watching. Citizens from hundreds of planets saw the footage and felt something shift. A week later, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. The council was made up of the oldest and richest species in the galaxy. For centuries, they had allowed controlled slave trade in outer systems. They called it labor transfer or cultural contracts. But it was slavery no matter what name they gave it. Now, the public demanded answers inside the Golden Council Hall. Delegates argued loudly. Some shouted that the trade must continue. It was tradition. It kept peace. It served the economy. But others stood up and asked hard questions. What if the humans are right? One said. What if we've turned blind for too long? Asked. Another dot in the middle of it all. A request came in. Ilari had agreed to speak. Her message was simple. Her face appeared on the council's holoscreen, calm and full of quiet strength. I was sold, chained, passed from one owner to another. I was called property, pet, tool. Everything except person, she said, but one human saw me. He didn't ask what I could do for him. He didn't want to use me. He only wanted me to be free. She paused. I am no longer someone's slave. I am someone's friend, and I have rescued others, not because I was ordered, but because I chose to. That's what freedom is, a choice. The council room fell silent. Back aboard the Odyssey, Daniel watched the speech with his arms crossed, a proud smile on his face. You did it, he said quietly. Ilori sat beside him, looking thoughtful. It's not done yet. You're right, he nodded. But it's a start. Suddenly, the communication light blinked. Daniel tapped the console. An officer from the Earth Diplomatic Network appeared. Captain Daniel Reeve. This is Officer Tara Niles, from the Human Unity Embassy. Daniel sat up straighter. Yes, ma'am. We've seen the footage. Your name is being mentioned across 3 sectors. Earth wants to support you. If you and your co-pilot are willing, we'd like to bring you to the Unity Summit next week. Daniel blinked us. Yes, the galaxy is watching. And right now, humans are leading the call for justice. Daniel looked at Ilari. She nodded. We'll be there, he said. The Unity Summit was held on Trellian 5, a peaceful planet with white towers and clear skies. The event gathered leaders, thinkers, and peace workers from across the stars. Daniel and Ilari arrived in a small shuttle. As they stepped onto the platform, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Some cheered, a few sneered, but most were simply curious. Inside the grand hall, they stood on stage together. Daniel spoke first. I'm not a hero. Didn't plan any of this. I just did what felt right. No one should live in chains. Then Ilari stepped forward. Speak not just for the Shari, she said, but for all who were silenced. The galaxy is not built by the strong, it is built by the kind. There was a pause, then a wave of applause filled the hall that night. Alone in their room, Daniel sat by the window, staring at the stars. Ilari walked in, holding 2 cups of warm herbal tea. You okay? She asked. Just thinking, he replied. A month ago, I was just a guy with an old ship. Now I'm standing in front of leaders and crowds. She smiled. You're still that guy. Just with a louder voice, he took the tea and smiled.
Ilari?
You've changed too. Ilari sat beside him. I found my voice thanks to you. They sipped their drinks in silence for a while. Then Daniel asked, what do you want to do next? Ilari looked out the window. Keep flying. Keep helping. There are others still trapped. We can reach them. Daniel nodded. And that's what we'll do. Across the galaxy, the winds of change had begun. More worlds questioned the old ways. Some closed their markets, others burned their cages. A few still resisted, hiding in the shadows, but the light was spreading. And at the center of it all was a small human ship, piloted by a man who chose kindness. And a woman once called a slave, now standing tall as a symbol of hope. Together, they were not just flying through space, they were flying toward a better future. For many across the galaxy, Daniel Reeve and Ilari had become a symbol of change. More people began to question the old slave systems. More planets passed laws to protect the weak. More captains, human and alien alike, started freeing those once forgotten. But not everyone was happy. Deep in the dark corners of space, shadowy stations and hidden moon bases, the slave lords watched with anger. These were not governments or honest traders. They were the powerful crime syndicates, the ones who earned billions from pain and fear. And now their empire was shaking. "This human is a problem," one of them growled. "He's only one ship," said another. "We crush him quickly." And quietly, price was placed on Daniel's head. Back aboard the Odyssey, Daniel and Ilari had no idea what was coming. They had just returned from another rescue, this time from a mining moon where children had been forced to work in deep tunnels. The mission had gone well. No one was hurt. The rescued were safe now, and Daniel felt proud, but Ilari looked uneasy. As they prepared to jump to the next sector, she stood near the control panel, eyes closed. "Something's wrong," she said quietly. Daniel looked over. "What do you mean?" "I feel cold. Not the ship. Not space. Something is near something full of hate." Daniel trusted her senses. She had warned him before when things felt offhand. She had always been right. He opened the scanners and started a full sweep of the surrounding space. Minutes later, the warning came. "Unmarked ship approaching at high speed," the system said. "No beacon, no ID." Ilari's eyes narrowed. "That's them." Daniel took the controls. "Let's see if they want to talk." He opened the comms channel. "This is the Odyssey. State your purpose." No answer. Then suddenly the enemy ship fired. A laser bolt streaked across the sky, hitting the shields with a loud buzz. The ship shook. "Shields down 10%, Ilari called out. Daniel flipped switches fast. "Hold tight." He turned the Odyssey sharply, flying through a nearby asteroid field. The enemy chased them, but the rocks made it hard to follow. Inside the cockpit, Daniel's hands moved fast. He knew this ship better than anyone. It wasn't built for battle, but it had speed. "We're not going to outrun them forever," he said. "Then let's trap them," Ilari replied. Using the asteroids, they made a plan. Daniel lured the enemy ship into a tight cluster of rocks. Ilari used the ship's gravity tools to move one large asteroid slightly off its path, just as the enemy passed by. The rocks slammed into their side, breaking off one of their weapons. "They're damaged," Daniel shouted. "Let's end this." Ilari said. Daniel flew in fast, didn't destroy the enemy. Instead, he sent a message directly to their ship. "We know who sent you. Tell them we're not afraid." Then he powered the jump drive. The Odyssey vanished into hyperspace. Later, safe in another system, they sat in the quiet lounge. Daniel checked the damage report. "Hull's fine. Shields need time, but we'll fly." Ilari looked serious. "It won't be the last attack." He nodded. "I know. We're making enemies. But we're also making allies," she said. Daniel looked at her. "What are you thinking?" She stood and walked to the console. "It's time we stop running and start gathering. There are others like us, pilots, rebels, peaceful fighters. If we join together, we can protect the ones who can't fight." Daniel leaned back. "A resistance. Something better," she replied. "A rescue network. Fast, silent, strong." Daniel smiled slowly. "I like it." They began sending encrypted messages through old military channels, forgotten networks, and hidden codes. The response was stronger than they expected. A human captain near the rim offered support. A cyborg mechanic from Zindar base sent tech upgrades. Even a former slaver, now ashamed of his past, sent the coordinates of secret holding stations. The movement had begun, but trouble followed. As word spread, the Galactic Slave Syndicate sent one of their best hunters, a cold-blooded alien named Orcs. Known for never failing a mission, he tracked the Odyssey across 3 systems. One night, as Daniel and Ilari docked on a quiet station to pick up supplies, Vorok walked in. Cloaked and silent, he moved like a shadow, watching their every step. Ilari sensed him. She whispered to Daniel, "Someone is here, watching. Dangerous." They moved fast. Daniel picked up what they needed and left without delay. They avoided their normal route. And when Vorax reached the docking bay, the Odyssey was already gone. But the hunt had truly begun. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He stood in the engine room, thinking. Elori joined him. "You okay?" she asked. "I keep asking myself if we're doing the right thing," he said. "We've helped a lot of people, but we've also made enemies." Ilari touched his shoulder gently. Good hearts always face the darkest shadows. "But we don't walk alone anymore." He looked at her. "You're not the woman I rescued from that cage," he said. "And you're not just a pilot anymore." She replied. They both smiled. Outside, the stars moved slowly, glowing like sparks in the night. And somewhere in the dark, enemies watched. But Daniel and Ilari were not afraid, because now they had purpose, and soon the galaxy would feel their light. The galaxy was changing. The name Captain Daniel Reeve was now known on hundreds of worlds. But not because he fought wars or claimed power. It was because he did something most people didn't expect. He helped others with no demand for reward. And beside him was Ilari, once a silent prisoner, now a voice of hope, courage, and freedom. Together they had rescued dozens of slaves, destroyed illegal trade ships, and built something rare, a growing network of ships and people who believed in justice. But the enemy was still out there, and now they were ready to strike. In a hidden corner of space, the Galactic Slave Syndicate held a secret fortress. It was an old mining base turned into a prison. Deep inside, hundreds of captives waited. Some had been there for years, others had just arrived. This base wasn't listed on maps. It was protected by turrets, cloaking tech, and powerful warships. No one was supposed to find it, but the Odyssey had found it, and they weren't coming alone. Daniel stood at the front of the ship, looking at the growing fleet around him. There were 12 ships now. Some were old freighters. Others were small fighters. But each one had a crew ready to help. Former soldiers, alien scientists, smugglers who had changed sides, even ex-captives like Ilaria, they had all come together for one mission: break. The last chain. Ilari walked in, calm and focused. "It's time," she said. Daniel nodded. "Let's bring them home." They came out of hyperspace just outside the asteroid belt surrounding the Syndicate base. The enemy didn't expect a fleet. They expected silence, fear, and hiding. Instead, the rescue ships moved fast. Daniel sent out a warning. "This is Captain Daniel Reeve. Release your prisoners and power down. You will not be harmed if you surrender." There was no reply. Instead, the Syndicate fired. The battle began. The stars lit up with lasers and fire. Daniel weaved the Odyssey through enemy shots. Diving and turning like a bird in a storm, Eladi managed the shields, keeping their systems stable. Other rescue ships took positions. One group distracted the enemy fighters, while another group moved toward the base's power station. Inside the fortress, alarms rang. Guards shouted. Lights flickered. But deep in the cells, someone whispered. They came. The humans came. Ilari focused her mind. Her telepathic senses reached out, feeling the pain, the fear, and the small sparks of hope inside the prisoners. "We're close," she said. "They're waiting." Ah! Daniel guided the Odyssey through the final defense ring. A small drone released a high-pulse EMP, disabling the turrets. Then, with one perfect strike, the ship blasted open the main hangar gate. Inside, rescue teams rushed. In quick, careful, trained, the prisoners were freed. One by one, they ran into the ships. Some limped. Some cried. Some simply looked at the stars with wide, shocked eyes. Daniel stood outside his ship as a Shari child ran up to Ilari and hugged her tightly. "You're real," the child whispered. "They said no one would come, but you did." Ilari held the child gently. No one is ever truly forgotten. The last of the prisoners were loaded, but danger wasn't done. From deep space, the Syndicate's warship appeared massive, dark, and full of weapons. It fired without warning, shields down to 60%. Ilari called. Daniel gritted his teeth. "We need time, but just a few more minutes." Then, over the radio, came a voice. "This is Captain Riva of the Flamewind. We've got your back." A large human-built ship jumped into view. It fired at the warship, giving Daniel the time he needed. More ships arrived, ships from other systems. Inspired by what Daniel and Ilari had started, farmers, traders, even former pirates together. They forced the enemy to retreat. The battle ended, the prison was empty. The syndicate ships were gone or captured. The last base had fallen. Daniel stood in silence as the stars returned to peace. Beside him, Ilari watched the freed ones dance, sing, and cry in joy. "You did it," he said quietly. "No," she replied. "We did it, all of us." Later, at a large gathering on the peaceful planet of Solian Prime, the Galactic Council held a ceremony. Laws were signed, new rules passed. From that day forward, all slavery across the Council's systems was banned. Completely, Daniel and Ilari were called to the stage. The speaker's voice echoed. This human did not come to conquer. He came to care. And this Shari woman, once enslaved, now stands as a light for all of us. They didn't just fight back, they lit a spark, and that spark became a fire of change. The whole room stood. People from hundreds of worlds clapped. Some cried, some saluted, but Daniel and Ilari only smiled at each other. They didn't want medals. They had already won that night. Under the twin moons of Solian Prime, Daniel and Ilari stood together. She looked up at the stars. "There are still others out there." Daniel nodded. "Then we keep flying. You really don't get tired, do you?" she said with a laugh. "I do," he said, "but not of this. Not of helping." Ilari placed a hand over his. "Whatever comes next, I'm glad I'm not alone." Daniel looked at her with a soft smile. "You never were." They stood in silence, not as a captain and a rescued slave, not as hero and helper, but as partners. As friends, as something stronger than chains, stronger than fear, stronger than the past. They were free, and now, so was the galaxy.